Welcome back. So, after a long break from YouTube, mostly due to the fact that I had Youmacon and a family member almost kicked the bucket due to a blood clotting issue, like legit, if my family member hadn't got to the hospital yet, she would have kicked the bucket. Like, sweet Jesus. But I'm back with another hard, throbbing episode with Seed of the Dead. So enough talk, let's just dive right on in. So the story is this. You're some random guy who gets woken up by three chicks. Hikari, the cherry cheery schoolgirl, Aya, the informal leader and the dommy mommy of the group, and Kiata, who is the full-on brat of the trio. At first, you're trying to get to somewhere safe. So you guys end up going to a hospital where you can find medical supplies. It's pretty good. Later on, the crew finds a cave and you all get briefly separated. After you all reunite, you end up getting to a laboratory and you can potentially make a vaccine. However, it needs a bunch of female fluids. So after one annoying ass level, which I can't show for obvious reasons, we may have a potential prototype for a vaccine and leave the laboratory. Yes, this game ends on a cliffhanger. And if you're wondering, yes, the sequel is on early access on both Patreon and Steam. Honestly, for the first game, it's nice to just keep the plot very simple, especially if you're going to make some form of a franchise out of it. The presentation is made within the Unreal Engine. It's very easy to mistake this for being made in Unity. I mean, look at this shit. But it does its job with looking dingy in a zombie-riddled shithole. Now the soundtrack, I can commend them on for having more than one audio track, or not just having one audio track in a constant goddamn loop, or just having nothing at all. So that's where I really can commend them on. Not much for the sound effects, it gets the job done. I wouldn't be that surprised if they just use default assets for the gun effects, but we'll talk about
nice fucking model!
that later. And if you're wondering, the custom models for the girls are not that bad. And if you're wondering about the lewd animations and CGs, they're not that bad. They're okay. You're not going to be really cringing at it. It's passable. For the gameplay, it's an FPS and a very basic one. The gunplay is So the sound effects, like I said, are pretty stock, and the game uses bullet tracers instead of hit markers. If you want a more in-depth video on how gunplay works, I'll link DX's video in the description below. Essentially, but if you do fire your gun, the reactions of the enemies are very little. They briefly stop, or they do have exploding heads when you actually do get a proper headshot. Now, the weapons you have that you can obtain are this. A simple pistol, an AP5, a magnum pistol, which I don't understand the dev just call it a fucking magnum, an SMG-90, a Mossberg 12 gauge, another 12 gauge shotgun, please leave a comment down below if you know what gun this is, a classic AK-47, an entry sword, a gun that makes people go boom. You also have a basic melee attack, but that's a bit wonky as hell, and some nearly unreliable frag grenades. Now the zombies range from your typical standard zombies to these weird ass back looking creatures to these worms that spit out these godforsaken kamikaze creatures, and lastly these weird zombies that if you shoot them enough times they'll just Hulk out! But all of them can be taken down with enough headshot. Like I said, sometimes they'll even explode. Now keep in mind, there are a few game modes throughout the campaign. There is the mostly that you'll see is waves. There's defense, which you defend someone, for example your pit, which you're defending a lot, which is only 2 times. Find the area, which is actually my favorite because you get to explore a little bit, in this case in the hospital, some potential lore. Now keep in mind, you're also accompanied by these 3 lovely ladies. And to manage them, for the most part, do a pretty good job at keeping themselves alive. But keep in mind, you also do not have any real health item. So, what do you do to get health back in this game? Simple. Fucking. So simply hold F towards the girl that you want to heal, do a little sex mini game with them until their heart fills up, and you get health and or a temporary shield. You also need to revive them by fucking them. Now, for my biggest advice for this game is to 1, check your map, and 2, check your 6. Also, I decided to make a gun scale priorities, and also don't ever underestimate your pistol as well. Now for the sequel, I know this game is in early access, so this is hopefully they can implement for this game or the next game in the future. So here's a quick list. Slightly improved gunplay, add more fire-based weapons. Honestly, Left 4 Dead and Payday 2 kind of spoiled me on how reliable fire-based weapons are, such as Molotov cocktails and incendiary grenades. Have the game open up a bit. Not like big open world, but like smaller. Like for example, like Sonic Adventure or Yakuza. That would be nice. Commanding my party members as well. That will also be something nice. And like I said, just better weapons and gunplay. Like for example, a lot of us don't really mind the bullet tracers, but have the zombies respawn a little bit more naturally. For example, if I shoot a zombie in the shoulder, I expect them to just take a step back a bit, or their body moves slightly, stuff like that. But overall, this game is very passable. It's nothing too offensive, and ultimately, I'd say play it if you really want to, but you're not really missing out on much if you're deciding not to. So until then, everyone, good night and good luck, and hopefully I will start doing some more projects like this.
If you enjoyed this video and wish to see more of Overlord content, please like, comment, subscribe, and the bell for both uploads and community post. Also follow him on social media such as Twitter and Pixiv.